Hello everyone, in today's video we are going to talk about Block 4 English Morphology, Unit 2, Word Formation in English 1. Okay, this is the topic, this is the unit, and we will cover the following topics. The first one is words and morphemes. I know we have already done it in the previous chapter, but in this chapter we will dwell further into it, and we will understand what is free versus bound morphemes. And then we will understand the process of word formation, and the majority of this chunk is dedicated to inflectional versus derivational morphology. So we will dwell into that and understand what is inflectional and derivational morphology. As usual, I do it with the help of our IGNOU books, so later it's easier for you to understand what's going on and you can read from the book. Yeah. So without any further delay, let's just start with the chapter. So let's understand that we have already seen in the previous unit what are words and what are morphemes, but let's just revise it a little bit with that words are not the smallest unit of language either in terms of meaning or forms. We have already seen this, that morphemes are the smallest unit of language is the morpheme. It is the smallest unit of meaning as well as the grammatical function. Words and morphemes are the two lowest level structures in the grammar of a language. Okay, we are aware of this. So let's understand the first one, which is free versus bound morphemes. What are these? So certain morphemes in English, they are realized into the word level of independently occurring forms, while others occur only in combination. So they can either be occurring in independent form and then sometimes they only occur in combination. So let's take the word boy, book, read. Okay. So these are your independently occurring forms. So they are free form morphemes. Then we come to more such words like boyish, bookish, and reading. So what are these? They are just the other form of boy. Boy, the word boy's other form is boyish, but they have a different meaning. Boy and boyish is not the same. I could mean boyish is something which is like a boy, one who contains the qualities or the characteristics of a boy, but that does not mean the boy itself. Similar with book and read. So book, another word is bookish, and for read another word is reading. But they can only occur in combination, right? This boyish, bookish, and reading, they can only occur in combination. So then they are bound morphemes. So as we had discussed, words and morphemes we have covered. Free versus bound morphemes just now, we understood what are they. So let's understand more certain parts of this. So the first one is meaning versus grammatical function. Let's understand this with the example. Example, auxiliaries, prepositions, conjunctions. So what are these? Like in, on, the, of, or, what are these? And they do not refer to anything outside the language, do they? If I just say of, on, the, is it even helping? No. They only help to relate the words, okay, or units made up of words to each other. When I say book on shelf. When I say book on shelf, then it is talking about the relationship between the book and the shelf. But if I say shelf on book, then what do you imagine? So there is a book and on top of the book there is a shelf. It is changing the meaning of this sentence entirely. Book on shelf and shelf on book, they are entirely two different meanings. So then these auxiliaries or prepositions or conjunctions, they are just helping you to understand what's going on in this sentence, but they themselves do not hold that much of a meaning. Okay. Then the next one is grammatical versus lexical morphemes. Okay, grammatical versus lexical morphemes. Let's understand this, that grammatical morphemes have no meaning content in the sense in which lexical morphemes do. Okay. So what are we talking about grammatical morphemes? They don't have any meaning in itself. For example, when I say boys, is it any different from boy? It's still talking about boy but in plural, right? So it doesn't, this is a grammatical morpheme. This is a grammatical morpheme. It's talking about boys and not boy. What is a morpheme? Our morpheme is boy because that is the smallest unit which is able to exist on its own. This is a morpheme, but boys, it's not a morpheme, but it is a grammatical morpheme because it's just an addition of this s and then it changed the meaning. But you cannot say that boys is same as boy. I mean, their contribution is important. It modifies what is happening in the sentence. Okay, let's take the example that just now I did from boy to I change it to boys. Or when I say go, this is your morpheme. But when I say went, it is a grammatical morpheme of the word go. But are they the same? Yes, they both talk about the action of moving or going or walking. But this totally changes. It changed from this was present and now this is past, right? So now this grammatical morpheme, although it's talking about the same action, but because it is in the past, it changed the meaning of the sentence suddenly, right? So this is your grammatical morpheme. Let's come down to morphemes again. So there are lexical morphemes. One is free and another one is bound, which we remember with boy and boyish, boy and boyish. And there are grammatical, which is free and bound. Again, the same thing, like go, and then the other one could be went, right? So we saw these by example, or it could be go, like boy, or boys, right? This is possible. Okay. Then let's understand the process of word formation. Now they have given the example of words like politicize, criminalize, Ambedkarize, McDonaldize, vandalize. Now these words that did not exist in the dictionary just maybe 50 years ago, these words were not in the dictionary, but now they are. But this doesn't mean that you can just randomly create words like okay, red eyes, blue eyes, purple eyes, scarlet eyes. You cannot just create whatever you like to do. Okay, but these words they are usually coined by maybe journalists or writers, right? They coin these new words. So how are these words created, and what makes Ambedkarize a word and blue eyes not? I'm not even sure how to pronounce it, like blouse or blouse. So like purple eyes, I get maybe. Okay, so what makes this a word and this not a word? What makes it? So let's understand the simple and complex and compound words. Okay, simple, complex, and compound words. There are three types of words which we are going to read about. They're very interesting and very easy to understand. So something you can be happy about, yeah. A single free morpheme is your simple word. A free morpheme plus one or more bound morpheme is your complex word. Let's change the color so you can understand better. Yeah. A free morpheme plus one or more bound morpheme is your complex word. And then what is a compound word? Or more free morphemes or two or more free morphemes plus one or more bound morpheme respectively. They are your compound words. Now since it is a little bit wow, because I made such a nice drawing, let's take another example of these words. A simple morpheme is a boy, sing, kind, right? Okay. Complex is when I just added s or like ing kind of thing. So this is boys, singing, kindness, writers, etc. A compound is when I added boy plus play. So they are two different morphemes. I added those playboy, bird song. Okay. Now what is a compound complex word? This is hot-bloodedness. So hot is a morpheme, blood is a morpheme. Then I added this suffix, okay, and then I added another suffix. So blood, okay, blooded, okay, and then I added bloodedness, okay, and then I also added hot in before that, so like a prefix. Now this is a compound complex word. Writer and producer, a compound complex word. There are more such examples of these you could read, but let's come to affixes, stems, and root. Affixes could be either a suffix or a prefix, right? So let's take this with example. For example, the word impenetrable. So this is your root word, right? This is your root word. Then you added a prefix, then you added a suffix, and now this became impenetrable. So penetrate plus charge. So these are what these are the stem or the root verbs, and then you are adding affixes, so before or after, like a prefix or a suffix, and then you create a word which is entirely something else. Let's take the industrialization. So industry, we all know what is industry. Industrialization is the process of creating a lot of industries, okay? And then I added a D, changed the meaning entirely because now we are not industrializing, that is your deindustrialization. And then I added an ing. So I enhanced the word further and it gave me another meaning. So that is with your affixes. Okay, let's come to this very interesting thing, which is inflectional versus derivational morphology. I will bring you back here. So we have covered the process of word formation. Actually, this process of word formation, we are going to delve a lot deeper into it in the coming chapters, but this is just for now. So actually, we would be seeing all the processes, how it works, what are the different ways in which new words are formed. we would dwell into it. But for now, this is what you have. Let's come to inflection versus derivational morphology. This is the last part. So, because they have talked a lot about a lot of things, I'm just giving you the simple form which I was able to simplify it. And I will also leave a link to the website which has further information on this topic. And we have talked about it. It's just one page. So you could read it and it would give you further information. So there are two kinds of affixes, derivational affixes and inflectional affixes. Okay. So derivational affixes, they create new words. Inflectional affixes create new forms of the same word. Okay. So for example, when I took industrialization here, industrialization, when I added D, that just entirely changed the meaning of this word. Okay. Inflectional, on the other hand, will just change a little bit, like boy, boyish. We are still talking about the boyish charm or the qualities which a boy has. So this is your inflectional affix. If we are just understanding the differences, derivational morphology changes both the meaning and the content of a lexeme, not lexeme but lexeme, while inflectional morphology does not change the meaning but changes the function. Okay. So just remember, derivational changes entirely the word and it creates a new word. On the other hand, inflectional affix kind of keeps the same form but just changes the function of it, the grammatical function, or just create a similar form of the same word. Okay. So derivational changes entirely, inflectional changes just a little bit. Now, for example, for inflectional suffix or affix, right, the base form is skip, then skipping is the present form, and skipped is the past form. Or when we add s to singulars or plurals, or we add d or ed to make it past, just changing a little bit into what is happening in the exact same word. So, for example, or est, like cute, cuter, cutest, right? So it is still about talking about being cute. Okay. So this is cute and this is cutest. So you're keeping the same word, changing a little bit of it. So then that is your inflectional morphology. When it changes entirely, that's your derivational morphology. Now they have talked about it, as I've said, like adding s or es, adding d, rais, right, these kind of things. So let's read from IGNOU books. Inflectional affixes never change the grammatical category. That's the part of speech of the stem. A noun remains noun, a verb remains verbs, adjective remains adjective, even after an affix has been added to s. Derivational affix may or may not change the grammatical category of the stem. For example, modern, modernized, read, readable, new, nudity, right? They also changes in the grammatical category. For example, obey, disobey, charge, recharge, fortune, misfortune. Don't show change. Some of them they show change, some of them they do not show change. Inflectional affixes in English are all suffixes. Derivational affixes may be prefixes or suffixes. So inflections are always all suffixes, but derivational could be either of the two, could be both. Okay. And both derivational and inflectional morphemes may occur in the same word. Okay. But when that happens, the derivational morphemes are attached first, and then the inflection morphemes are attached last. Okay. Once an inflection affix has been attached to a form, no other affix can be added to it. As a result, in a complex word, the inflectional affixes mark the outer layer and the derivational affix mark the inner layer. Now let's take the word industry. We have already seen this. So the derivational affix here is al, so industrial. Again, derivational affix here is ice, so industrialized. Derivational affix here is here is D, so deindustrialized. And then finally we are adding inflectional affix. So now I added this ing and now this whole sentence is deindustrializing. Okay. I hope this was a little bit clear, yeah. Okay. And if both compounding and inflection takes place, inflection follows compounding. If there is compounding also happening, for example, kick started. So kick plus start plus ed. So first we made another word kick plus start and then we added ed. Okay. Channel, hop plus ing. And then inflectional affixes modify the meaning of the stem in a regular way. For example, the plural affix, the past affix, etc. Okay, let's come down and see more stuff. Like if I say Ram, Okay. And if I say rams, this does not make plural ram. Okay, this doesn't mean that we have tens of rams here. No. I mean, it would be a very bizarre case if we do so, but when I say rams, so this means ram's pen, or ram's pants, or ram's job, okay? Whenever I say that. That's about it. When I say cat, it is cat. When I say cats, we are talking about plural cats, okay? Unless it's a specific cat that we're talking about, like this cat's collar is amazing. In that case, that would be different. So they have given more such examples. We could read those. Then they're talking about the category where the plurals are done not in the regular way of adding s or es, but sometimes we create plurals by a different method. For example, man, men, mouse, mice, right? Foot, feet, and they have also given the pronunciation or the phonological form of this word. So feet, foot, mice, right? Mouse. So they have given those. Knife, knives. So they have talked about those. We were looking at inflectional morphology of English nouns. Now we will look at the inflectional morphology of English pronouns. So we all know what are pronouns. When you don't want to use the name again and again, then you use I, me, he, she, it, they, her, right? You all use this. So the first one is they are talking about this bicycle is mine. Mine is this bicycle. Okay, this is the first one. That N2 belongs to N1 relationship. They're talking about the relationship with noun. Okay, and this bicycle is mine. This is the first example. Then they talk about the different forms depending on whether the reference is to the first person, that is the speaker, second person, that is to the one who's listening, or the third party, which is we talked about, but they are not here. Then we have another one which is about the gender, which is masculine, feminine, or neuter objects. And then finally we have the number rule, which is about singular and plural. So, for example, they have given this table which is very easy to understand. The first person is the one who's talking, so like I, if it's singular, and then if it's plural, it becomes we, right? Then we are talking about second person, so one who's listening, so it is you or you. Then third person is, if it's masculine, it's he, if it's feminine, it's she, if it's neutral, then it's it. And these are all in singular, but if I talk about plural, then it becomes they, right? So this is the whole table which was talking about this, the 4 points which we discussed just now. And this was about pronouns, and then we'll move on to inflectional morphology of English adjectives. Adjectives like good becomes better and best, bad becomes worse and worst, far is farther, farthest or further, furthest, little less, lesser, least, right? So then these are about the adjectives. We all know what adjectives are. Then I'll move to adverbs. So adjective is something which is modifying the noun, right? The noun. And adverb is something which modifies the verb. Okay. So let's take this example of Sita is a good painter. Adjective is noun. Adjective is talking about noun, which they're talking about she is a good painter. A painter is a noun. A painter is a noun. And because she's a good painter, we are describing it with good, okay? But she paints well. Now what are we talking about? We're talking about the quality of painting. Paints. So that is already a verb. And that's why we have described it as well, because it's a verb. Similarly, she is a better painter. So still painter is a noun, and that's why good, better. Again, when we're talking about painter, this is the best. But when we talk about paints, everywhere this paints is a verb, and that's why they are kind of like they're explaining the difference between adjective and adverb. Let's come to the morphology of English verbs. So then it is mainly of the main verb function. For example, dismiss, jump, hit. The form changes depending on how many members are there. For example, I jump, you jump, but he, she jumps. Okay. Then the modal verbs, for example, can, could, shall, should, will, would. These are all your modal verbs. And then there are primary verbs by like be and do and have. So these are your primary verbs. This also has the same number rule if it's singular or plural. It also has the tense or primary verb change form, right? It depends on that. So there are more examples. And then of course there is the voice rule, which is the police arrested the thief versus thief was arrested by the police. So this is the active and the passive rule. And then finally we have the paradigm rule, which is the paradigm of the full verb, which is work, works, working, worked, and worked, right? So this is the base word work, S form is works, ing form is working, first form work, and this is your last form. It's for similarly for all other words. So you add these kind of things, right? S is the E, these kind of sounds, and then it changes the meaning. Okay, and then finally, lastly, we have this be, have, and do, and then to be is, are, right? Ing forms, have not, do, did, done. These are all the forms. So this is the table which you could look at. Interesting, easy. So the base form is work, is form is works, past form is worked, ing is working, and it's the en form. These are your modal verbs, and that's pretty much it. I will sum up this unit right now, and you could just go through these points are interesting and they cover everything that we have talked about. Okay, I will not do it now because that would make this video way too long. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did so, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.